Moksha Redefined, Freedom Beyond Illusions. Namaste and welcome to the first episode of Learning Liberates. I am Dr. Surendra, and today we will delve into a concept that touches not just the spiritual but also the fundamental truths of life, moksha. When we hear the word moksha, certain images come to mind: a yogi, a saint, the peaks of the Himalayas, or some other mystical state. But today, we will explore this word from a fresh perspective. Is moksha merely a spiritual concept, or does it connect to the everyday experiences of your and my life? Let us embark on this journey together. Moksha, a transformation. People often ask, what does moksha mean? Liberation, salvation, or freedom from the cycle of life? I say, moksha means freedom, but freedom that arises not from external sources but from within. Understand this. Freedom is not just about physical or societal independence. It's about releasing the chains that bind us internally, fears, conditioning, and misperceptions about our own lives. Every one of us carries some form of bondage. Sometimes these are imposed by family, society, or traditions. But the deepest shackles are the ones within our minds. These could be fears of failure, rejection, or regrets from our past. Unless we recognize these, we can never truly be free. Moksha and modern life. In today's world, moksha seems like a far-off concept. But the truth is, the meaning of moksha can differ for each person. For someone, moksha could mean freedom from career pressures. For another, it could mean overcoming the fear of failure. And for someone else, it could be liberation from regrets about the past. The point I want to make is that moksha is not an ultimate destination. It is a process, a state of experiencing freedom in every moment of life. Have you noticed how we often hesitate to make decisions? Fear holds us back. But when we make decisions with awareness, those decisions can bring a sense of liberation. For instance, if you are unhappy in a job but cannot leave it because of fear, you are bound by that fear. When you acknowledge that fear and go beyond it, that is liberation. Practical example of liberation. Here's a simple example. If you are stuck in making a decision and your inner voice tells you it's wrong, but you follow the world's expectations due to conditioning, are you truly free? No. Moksha is recognizing and understanding that conditioning and rising above it. It's not just a spiritual journey. It can manifest in the small actions of daily life. When you accept something on your own terms, not because of societal expectations, you take a step toward your moksha. Moksha and neuroscience. You might think, all right, this is philosophy, but what does it have to do with science? So, let's look at it from the perspective of neuroscience. A key concept of moksha is detachment, not getting attached to things, but observing them. Neuroscience tells us that when we are mindful, the brain's default mode network, which is often overactive, begins to calm down. When this network is overly active, it traps us in negative thought loops, regret, overthinking, anxiety. But when we enter a state of observation, the brain engages the prefrontal cortex, responsible for clarity and rational thinking. What does this mean? When you don't get attached to your emotions and thoughts, but simply observe them, you experience a new sense of freedom within. This is the spiritual and scientific essence of moksha. Our thoughts do not define us. Understanding this is the first step toward liberation. When you observe your thoughts without judgment, you begin to detach from them. And that is true freedom. Philosophical deep dive. Is moksha an illusion? Another question arises, is moksha an illusion? Some people say the concept of moksha is a kind of solace and escape route. I say, moksha is an illusion as long as you see it as an end goal. But when you realize that moksha exists within life itself, its meaning transforms. For example, if a fish were to ask the ocean, I need water, it would seem absurd. Similarly, we often search for moksha without realizing that we are already within it. Have you ever thought about how we get so busy fulfilling our expectations that we forget the intrinsic value of life? When we understand that life is complete in itself, only then can we experience true moksha. Practical exercise. Discovering your moksha. Let's talk about a simple exercise. Close your eyes for 5 minutes and observe your breath. Let the thoughts come, but just observe them without judgment. Now ask yourself, what is binding me right now? It could be a regret or a fear. Look at that bondage and tell yourself, I let you go. This way, you'll experience a small state of liberation. These small practices make us mindful every day. When you make this process a daily habit, liberation becomes second nature. Story: a saint and a disciple. A disciple once went to a saint and said, I want moksha. The saint laughed and asked, what is binding you? The disciple replied, my anger, my ego, my fears. The saint said, then free yourself from them, and moksha will be yours. The disciple asked, but how will that happen? The saint smiled and said, when you realize that these are not you, you'll be closer to liberation. This story teaches us that moksha is not something to be sought outside. It is a state of awareness that comes from within. Conclusion. Friends, moksha is a journey, an experience that is hidden in every moment. When we go beyond the chains of conditioning, we experience the true freedom of life. I believe life's value is intrinsic. It doesn't need an external goal. When we understand this truth, every moment becomes a celebration. So, let's celebrate this journey. I'll see you in the next episode with a new question. Thank you. And remember, freedom lies within you.